All right, well, let's get started. Thankfully, in the week between last week and this one, I'm not no longer the only one that saw Fantastic Four, and I tried to be spoiler free last week, and so to that I say, screw that. Let's be spoilery and talk about Fantastic Four. So, actually, I'm going to start with Lauren because I just superhero movies aren't totally your jam. Like I know you saw Superman and liked it enough. What was your take on Fantastic Four?
I really liked it. I thought it was
Wow.
well done. I know Kevin and I were talking a little bit last week about Fantastic Four because I was curious if it was similar to the one in like what was it, 2004, 2005, the
2005, yeah.
original 2005 with Jessica Alba and Chris Evans. I thought this was an interesting take, being that it's, very retro 60s, but it tells a great story and a different foundation because they talk about, and it's really revolving around not only their dynamic as a foursome, but also the birth of their son, Franklin, and how much of an influence he had even before she gave birth to him. So I enjoyed it. It did not nod off at all during this film. So that's a key. And yeah, acting was pretty good. Effects were pretty good. I will say though, I I feel like the actual powers themselves, like you didn't really see Pedro Pascal like and his flexibility all that much during the film until like really the end and maybe the beginning parts where they show their origins of, them going up into space and then oh yeah, and then they all of a sudden had powers, but you didn't really see that through a large portion of the film, whereas with the past Fantastic Four from 2005 and then the Silver Surfer sequel, you saw more of their full abilities. I will say though that Sue Storm, right?
Mhm.
She seems stronger than the Sue Storm in the past
Yes.
movies. That
Yes.
was
Yeah.
my take on it. I mean, she practically saved the day, in my opinion.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I really enjoyed it. I thought they casted them very well, and it's based on the end credits. There's going to be a part two, or at least like it opens it up to another Avengers movie, it sounds like, with how they were showcasing that last bit
Yeah.
at the end.
Yeah. So, all right, cool. So generally a very good review from you, right? How about you, Andrew? What was your take?
I thought it was the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. Just kidding.
I get that.
It was strong. I was very excited about it. I was in Destin, Florida for like a vow renewal, so I couldn't go see it the weekend but then I was able to convince my fiance to go see it with me on Tuesday evening, which I never do on a school night. Matt Shackman, first of all, the director, he was also behind WandaVision, and I think he did a
Hmm.
really good job. I remember when I watched WandaVision, I was like, okay, this is different and cool and artistic. The aesthetics, we both loved it. That whole retro futuristic, mid-century modern, shiny, gleamy awesomeness was just a really good aesthetic touch. I freaking loved Galactus. Like my mini inner child was just so gleeful the whole time. Although I was like, what the hell are these four guys gonna do against a space god? But okay, whatever. And then you hit on the head, I think, Lauren. I think the way Captain America in the Marvel films is actually more powered, like he has more powers in the films than he does in the comics in terms of being able to hang. I feel like you had to like amp up Sue Storm in this movie because the fact that she was able to just like with herself against Galactus, what are you kidding me? But okay. I
But
mean,
so much so that it drained her, where she practically killed. She
yeah,
sacrificed herself for her son. That's
which
what
is
that.
Yeah.
beautiful. But it was
Right.
also, I think, relatable because it's Mama Bear, right?
Yeah.
And I
Yep.
feel like when you tap into that Mama Bear instinct, that's when people can do superhuman things. And I think that was something that Saloni particularly appreciated, that,
Right.
you gave her a really, like, what's more powerful a motivation than saving your child? And one of the favorite lines of the whole movie for me, because I think about these things, is when she said, I would never sacrifice my son for you, but I would also never sacrifice you for my son. I was like, wow, like
Yeah.
you solved that dilemma. Because my whole thing, and I love how Mr. Fantastic was, because I think he's probably INTJ, which is, I think, my type. And when she's like, you thought about it, like he definitely had thought about, maybe we do like do
Sacrifice
Franklin.
the sun.
And she's like, hell no, and she's like, sometimes being you hurts me. And in my head, I'm just kind of like, that sucks. Like, but whatever. It's like, it's okay. It is what it is. But as a unit, they just make it happen. They did give me a strong family vibe. I
Hmm.
gotta say, Human Torch, I forget his name right this
Johnny
second.
Quinn,
Yeah,
Sean,
yes.
Joe Quinn,
Um,
Joseph Quinn.
Joseph Quinn, he reminded me of, I think if they ever made a movie about a young RDJ, I think he could play a young RDJ and he'd
Hmm.
kill it.
Hmm.
He reminded me, and even what he's doing now, Joseph Quinn is doing lots of good kind of artistic films. He's not just doing like your, comic stuff. And I feel like RDJ, when he did Chaplin and everything else, he was also, his early career was very like award-winning and acclaimed. And like,
Well,
I think it
sort
was
of his
Vietnam.
secondary early career, right? Like
That's
after,
right. He was a
yeah,
brat packer at first. You're right.
yeah,
His
yeah.
second act. Yes, his second act. Good call. But yeah, and I will say though, after I got out of the movie, and maybe the movie did do better with maybe the women demographic. I don't know. Because I remember Saloni's like, "Did you like it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I liked it." But I remember feeling like I left Superman a little more like,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
particularly because of Eddie. But she almost seemed like, really? Like she's like, I liked it, and I'm just kind of like, okay, okay. I wanted to give it a chance.
Did
But I've
did
seen
she
the
see
headline.
Superman?
No, she hasn't seen it yet.
Okay.
But there is Superman only dropped, I want to say 50% from the first week to the second week,
Yeah, it
whereas
seems like it's like dropping 50% just about every weekend. So, I mean, it's definitely winding down, but it seems really steady in its drop.
yeah, whereas F4 dropped 80% for the second week. So to me, it's like,
It's crazy.
yeah, I do think that, like, I think Superman is the stronger film, actually, in my opinion, but F4 is solid. It is solid, but I just felt like it was more of like like it was just flat,
Yeah,
whereas Superman had like peaks and valleys for
sure.
me. Um, but loved it. And of course, at the end, like the after credit scene was just like good. Like I think the MCU is back. And one more thing I'll say. Pedro, even though he's everywhere, I didn't see Joel. I
Right?
definitely
Yeah,
saw, I
100%.
definitely, like, he was Franklin, and I could tell he's even buffer and skinnier, whereas Joel's like older and has a lighter voice. To me, Franklin's more like not Frank, yeah,
That's the sun.
Read.
Reed,
Read.
sorry. Reed has a deeper voice, is more assertive and just a smart dude. So,
Very
and even
analytical
thing
guy.
was great. Everyone was great. Everyone did their parts well. So yeah, I liked it.
Yeah.
What did
So,
you guys think of I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but Julia Gardner as the Silver Surfer
I
because it
liked
seems
her.
like that was very controversial from what I was reading. I think a lot of people,
it was sort of a stupid controversy. It's like it's a
yeah.
controversy for the sake of controversy because the character already exists. It's not like they took an established character and made it female just to be, for lack
Mhm.
of a better word, woke, right? Like just this character as the character that she played, Shala Ball as a Silver Surfer, exists in the comic books. It's happened before, so they chose one that exists and cast a female actor, for the part. I thought she
Mhm.
was great, and I thought um, when you look at Sue's story and she's a mother, and then you take Shala Ball and she's a mother, like I remember coming home and I said, this movie is very mom forward. Like it is definitely, it's not just female empowerment, but it's like women, it's mom power. Like it's she
Right.
had to make a choice on her planet to save her child and family and all of that, and she basically sacrificed her life to do it in a different way to keep her planet safe. And then you've got Sue, who is given almost the exact same choice, and goes a different route with it. And but it's two moms having to make the choice that protects their child, right? Yeah, and I thought it was good. Like I know my son, my middle son, who's is often, um, not intentionally, but he's just a young boy with a lot of testosterone, tends to be a little more sexist than my other two. And he's like, I don't like it. I don't like it. Then he watched it. He's like, no, it made sense. And I was like, good. I mean, when you can take somebody's mentality that's like that, I mean, not hardcore. Like if somebody's just hardcore against it, that's gonna be harder to shift. But like him, where he's just a kid and being a dummy, and point him in the right direction. I think that shows that they did a good job there.
Saloni also, she really appreciated the backstory of Shalabal. Like she's
Mhm.
like she liked that character too, and then she was just like, yeah. And Julia Garner, even though she hasn't seen, oh my God,
Ozark.
thank you, Ozark. She was like, and I told her how I call Julia being cast as Madonna, and she's like, that is awesome. She would have killed that. I know it got canceled though, but it sucks. But no, she really liked the Silver Surfer as well. I had to suspend my belief when he was able to decipher language just by like clips of her talking, but whatever. Maybe it's just because I'm just not Mr. Language. But
Yeah, I feel like that part of the storyline should have somehow either been some technology that Reed already had, or should have gone to Reed because like Johnny Storm, brains aren't his jam. Like he's not the smart guy. Like that's the whole thing. And I think that was a bit of a stretch.
yeah,
Like I felt like that was a bit of a stretch. Honestly, I know her speech was good, but I feel like, and granted, they are setting up a different, different world than we're in. But I think if you went out there in, today's world and gave that same speech, people would be like, "Cool, we're gonna kill you now. Like we're gonna kill you and take your baby, and we're gonna sell your baby to the dude in the sky."
you are
Uh,
funny.
like I just it was a great speech and it fit the times, but I just like I can't picture somebody walking into Times Square, New York today and being like, "Hey everybody, the world depends on me giving up my baby, but I'm not going to do that, but I also like you." And everybody being like, "Yeah, that makes sense."
But sorry, but you know what? But I think you said it already. But but that was the world they were living in.
Yeah.
We're talking the 50s and the 60s where the crowd still trusted public figures. So
Hmm.
I feel like, yeah, in today's world, yeah, they'd be absolutely, they'd storm the building, get the baby, and be like, come
Yeah.
get him.
They'd be like, "Cool. Hey bud, big guy with the antlers. We got your baby here. You can take it and fuck right off. Go eat the next planet, buddy." Like whatever. But uh yeah, I mean, like you said, the speech was good. Like it was a good, heartfelt speech. It worked for the story, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, yeah,
In
yeah.
the comics, does it cover Franklin?
Oh yeah, Franklin's a huge deal in the comics. He's arguably the most powerful character in Marvel Comics.
Really?
So yeah, he's got the juju. Like
What is his power? I mean, like he
it's like
obviously
everything.
brought his mother back to life, but
Yeah,
what is
it literally is like everything. Like he's just, I mean, he's what you would almost think of as a god. Like he can control reality, he can control like he's just on a whole other level.
wild? Okay,
Yeah,
he wasn't
so
covered, at least I know in the first two Fantastic Four
yeah, he wasn't
films.
didn't even exist in those. I don't know when, I mean, it's been a long time, but I don't remember when Franklin became a character in the comics. I feel like it was maybe the 90s. But yeah, he's definitely one of those ones that they when they created him, they're like, "Yep, this guy's we need somebody that can change kind of the universe that we have."
Yeah.
And they have characters that can do that. You don't see it.
Oh my God, dude, you're not going to believe this.
Huh.
But I don't know if he had the same powers, but Franklin first appears in 1968 and was created by
Oh wow.
Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, but he didn't receive his name until 1970. Um, yeah. So
Hmm.
I'll keep reading, but keep
Yeah.
going though.
Yeah.
Keep going.
So, but yeah, he's an interesting one, but he's one of those ones that serves a real purpose in storytelling for comics. Marvel's done the same thing. They did the same thing with Scarlet Witch at one point too, where she basically I forget what happened, but a mutant character killed one of her kids in the comics, and she got so upset, and all she did, because she can control reality, she just said no more mutants, and it changed everything. Like they changed the entire comics storyline because she was so powerful that she could change everything. So it's an excuse for the creators to basically reset the universe, right? And I think the MCU is going to take advantage of that in some way in the next couple of years, because Kevin Feige has all but said that after the next two Avengers movies, we're resetting Marvel
Mutants.
to a degree. So it'll be interesting for sure. Andrew, I know you saw Thunderbolts. I know Lauren, you didn't, right? You didn't see Thunderbolts. But
No,
when you're looking at those three movies that we have, the superhero movies, like what's your order?
Yeah. So I'll stay consistent with what I said in the chat, but I'll augment it slightly, and that is I do think Thunderbolts is the best of the bunch. And I was inclined to give Superman and Fantastic Four as a tie, but if forced to pick one, I would say Superman gets the slight edge over Fantastic Four for me.
Yeah.
But I think Thunderbolts, but the thing about Thunderbolts is I do think to thoroughly enjoy Thunderbolts, you do have to have a little bit of
Yes.
knowledge outside of the film because the characters, you got to know them in things like Black Widow and Falcon and the Winter Soldier and even Ant-Man 2, Ant-Man and the Wasp. So it's
Hmm.
like you need a little bit more. But I mean, Florence Pugh, man, I mean,
She was unbelievable.
hard
I
topper.
actually I realized last week that Thunderbolts had already been out for digital, so I actually bought it last week and rewatched it just this week.
Nice.
Um, I mean, it is good. It is really good, and I think the reason that you see them in, because I agree on the order. I'm probably a little less
Forgiving on
not
Fantastic.
forgiving, but just like wishy-washy on the two lower ones. Like for me, it's a clear Thunderbolt, Superman, and whatever. And I think it's because for me, there's emotional impact is decreased as you go down the line. For as great as Sue Storm's bit was, for as awesome as all that stuff was, I think you have Thunderbolts had like there was something special happening in Thunderbolts. Again, like you said, if you don't know all the characters' backstory, some of that stuff might be a little lost. But at the same time, it was the new character that drove that emotion forward. So if you didn't have the attachment to the characters, you might still feel that enough.
Lauren, I think I know Lauren, you're someone who I do think kind of understands and respects the whole idea of just mental health and mental
Hmm.
well-being. And that's what the Thunderbolts film is really about at the end of the day. And I think that's a very universal like thing. We all struggle on some level. And I think that when you just see the struggle from the beginning, from the opening frame with Florence Pugh all the way to the end, and you see how they bond, but it's like through, but yeah, it's a powerful film,
Yeah.
and it was surprisingly
from my
powerful.
understanding, it's basically the misfits
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
of
But
the
there's humor.
MCU.
There's like real
There's
humor.
good humor. And from Florence Pugh, who is not, she's not what I would call a happy character. Like she's definitely going through it.
Yes.
She's funny. Like if you, I feel like another one that you could watch without necessarily knowing the background is Hawkeye. You can watch
Yes.
the Hawkeye series on Disney Plus,
Yeah.
and that one's a lot of fun. Like that one's
Yes.
just fun to me because it takes place at Christmas time. Even
In Grand
though,
Central, New York.
yep,
So you're familiar with that whole area. You'll
yeah, the
recognize all
location's
those
there for
scenes.
you.
Yeah.
Jeremy Renner is Hawkeye, but I feel like he doesn't eat up the screen. I think it's Kate Bishop. It's
Haley Steinfeld.
yeah,
Haley
Haley
Steinfeld and
Steinfeld.
Florence Pugh are the stars, I would say.
They eat like they do
Yes.
such a good job. And Florence Pugh is so fucking funny. Like
Yes.
she's just so good. Um, I think I actually do think I could recommend that series to you on Disney Plus just out of the box, and I think you would have a good time with it. I don't think it's overwhelmingly like superhero-y,
No.
and it's a good introduction to Florence Pugh in the Marvel universe. But yeah, for me, I think, and then looking at Superman, I think Superman had a lot to say. and was still to me a little more emotional um than
Four.
Fantastic Four. And I don't have a problem with Fantastic Four. Like I really enjoyed it. Like I remember coming home and talking about it. My wife was like, "Well, why don't you like it as much?" And I was like, "It's like not so much that I don't. I mean, I guess it is that I don't like it as much, but it's not that I don't like it, right? Like it's not that it's not good. It's just these other two were really good." And so like we had a nice summer of really good superhero movies
Yeah.
and Captain America and these
I
movies.
just heard what you did there.
Yeah, yeah, you got that. And
Yes.
to be fair, like I didn't hate Captain America.
Nah,
It was
dude, don't even be
problematic.
nice to it.
It
It
was
was a turn.
problematic. I
And I love
I liked it enough. I really did. But it doesn't compare to these three at all. Like these three were miles better.
Harrison Ford. Did you see that headline? Like Harrison Ford, they asked Harrison Ford, would you come back as
No,
Thunderbolt Ross?
they asked him if he is coming back, and he's like, I don't
Nope.
know.
Just nope, one word. And it's
Yeah,
just like, but I'd be ashamed if I was him. Sorry, dude. It was not a
he's not the.
thing.
You've seen the interview with him when they talk to him about, when they're like, how do you, reconcile with yourself doing all these crazy characters and the roaring and all that? He's like, it's the money. Like
Yes.
that's all he does. Just says it's the money. It's fucking hilarious because the dude interviewing him is not ready for that answer at all. The dude loses it too. But it's true. Like Harrison Ford at this point, he's having fun, and if that movie doesn't do well, it does not affect his legacy in any way.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can make money. He can go be a superhero for a minute or anti-hero, whatever. But like he can do the thing that he was never able to do before. Somehow do it at like 150 years old and
Right.
still be loved for it, and
And
then
still
move
be in
on.
good shape too. His veins
Yeah,
popping. Like,
yeah,
what?
yeah. So like, yeah, I don't fault him. Like he was not the problem with that film.
No, it was
Um,
the editing.
it
And
was the editing. It was the budget, and I think I saw something. I forget who Marvel decided to try and emulate, but there was a film. Somebody made some films in the last couple of years where they had their effects budget and all their budgets way under control, and Marvel was like, why aren't we doing that? Like, why are we? And so, I think they said they made Fantastic Four for like half of what they made their last big film for because they figured it out. Like, they figured out how these companies were working their budgets to make it work. And so, what we're going to see is a shift in how Marvel is spending and the decisions they're making that I think are going to improve their movies rather than hurt them, where they're just pumping out movies that are so expensive that they can't make their money back.
yeah,
And I think Thunderbolts is a flop financially,
potentially.
which is a tragedy because it really is the best of the three superhero movies this year.
But we know
Um,
why. We know why.
yeah,
Because it paid for the sins of Captain America. Like that's
and
just
I
how it
mean,
works.
and several movies before it. Like
Yes.
it came in an unfortunate time, and I think the bummer is, and I looked at this last week, and I think I talked about it. But if you look at Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb for all three of these movies, Thunderbolt, Superman, and Fantastic Four, almost identical across the board.
Yeah.
It's a trip, and so that tells you we did good. Like we're not quite like Black Panther, like 90%. Like we're not up, up that high, but we're up there. Like this was a good summer for movies.
We're finally back to like I would say maybe phase two level. And that was all I asked. I don't think we ever should have fallen back to phase one or even like I just feel like it was yeah.
Yeah.
Phases four and five. Yeah. Anyways, you guys know how I feel about
I
that.
wonder too if Eternals had come out closer to now, if it would have fared better. Because like people after Endgame didn't want, they said they wanted new, but they didn't want new, right? So you put out the Eternals and it's new, and people are like, "What is this?" And I feel like now we see something like Fantastic Four, which is a new set of characters for what we know in the MCU. If the Eternals could have done a little better, I don't know, but
I still think the Eternals was way too long, and I think that
yes, yes,
John Malkovich got cut from Fantastic Four. I
yep.
think that the Eternals it was just like let Zoe Zhao or whatever her fucking name is like
Chloe
just
Zhao, yeah.
Chloe's out, do whatever she wants, and then it was this 2.5 hour meandering movie with terrible pacing. And but now they're back to, yeah, no, I'm Kevin Feige and you will do what I say.
Yeah.
Not because I'm a fucking asshole, but because, we have to make hits, we
Yeah.
can't indulge your artistic
Yeah, we can't miss anymore.
desires.
Well, so it's like we've talked about Zack Snyder. I don't think he's a bad filmmaker. I
No.
don't think he's an idiot. I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he just needs an editor. Somebody needs to go in and be like, "Hey, dude, stop what you're doing." Like, or go ahead, film it all, bud, but we're cutting 70% of it.
Yes.
Like, not every movie needs a director's cut. Not every movie needs to be 2.5 to 3 hours long. Like, let's let's edit, because there are things that I think he does really well. Like his visual style is great. I think he at some point in his career fell in love with slow motion and can't get away from it. And that does not help movie lengths. And I mean, especially when you're making action movies, slow mo definitely has its place. Like it's in every, we saw it. It was in Fantastic Four. It was in Superman. Like it's in every movie. But when it's like 70% of the movie, you're like, bud, you need to slow down. We can move the camera at regular speed for this one. Um, and and so I think it's it doesn't matter how good of a filmmaker you are, especially when you're making it in a universe that has a very specific audience. You have to be able to be edited. So. So, all right. Well, cool. I think that then the consensus is yes, Fantastic Four was good. It probably should not have dropped 80%. And if you haven't seen it, you should go see it. I would like to see, hopefully, this one still does well at the box office. If it dropped that far already, that makes me nervous for its box office because it didn't, I mean, it did okay. The first weekend, it actually made less than Superman in its first weekend. But still, both of those movies outsold the entire run of Thunderbolts, which is wild to me. Um, but it is what it is. We know what happened there. Um, but I would like to see it continue to do well, and I hope Superman. Like I hope both of the like. I do not want one of these movies to win. I want them both to just keep putting butts in the seats. And I don't. I like. I feel like the only interesting movie coming out in theaters this coming week is Weapons, which is doing really well. I may try and catch that this weekend. One of my sons might want to go with me, so I might try and catch that before the next episode. Um, but like, there's not really much to compete with the superhero genre for the next little bit. So like, these could last in the theater for a little bit. Um, although I think I saw that they're talking about Superman being on digital already by the middle of this month. So that would not fare well for its box office if that happens. Um, but for Superman, I'm excited for the DC universe. And then the other thing that we talked about is how basically now there's like a year until the next superhero movie, and I think that's a good break.
I agree.
Like we did good. We put out some superhero movies that people liked, and now we're gonna rest a little, and let people kind of sit back and live in those movies for a year, and then we're gonna move on. So, all right. Well, then we can move on, and let's see, how do we want to shift gears here? Let's let's have Lauren, why don't you talk about Nona's over on Netflix? Because I know this came out. It's a comedy, right?
Yeah, I think it's a comedy, but also like a very like heartfelt. Again, some themes where you could be like, oh, this could have been something that they could have put on Hallmark. Well, here's the thing. Does Hallmark have like true stories or no, it's all
Not
just
generally. Not generally. My
Lifetime probably has the true stories.
okay.
Yeah, but
Is
Because
it
Lifetime,
called
Lifetime,
Lifetime? But yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
Lifetime's true stories are all about how dudes suck and women need to get away from men.
Yes.
Like
He
Yeah.
was a
he's
baby,
gonna
but now
kill
he's
you.
dead.
Like
Yes, no, not in this case. This is a good person. And there's no like just random murders or things like that. But I think it's a movie that appeals to people that, care about food and family. It's based on a true story, and Vince Vaughn plays the main character here, where he was given, I don't know, maybe $100,000 or $200,000 from after his mother passed away, and he lives in Brooklyn, and he decides that after living, a very having a very close relationship with his mother and his grandmother, that he wants to, pay homage to them by opening a restaurant out in Staten Island, and he wanted to name it Enoteca Maria, which is Maria's wine library. And he decides to come up with like this very interesting concept by having the chefs be actual grandmothers so that they're sharing their dishes with customers, the world, whoever comes to this restaurant. So initially, he comes up with this idea, and his friend gets involved, and his friend is played by Joe Manganiello, who's Bruno. And he's like, all right, we'll use this money. Joe has, or his character's name is Bruno, has a lot of connections so that they can actually use the space that he found in Staten Island and make it into a proper restaurant. And it takes them a number of months, and he puts out ads to try to have grandmothers come and essentially provide insight to what their home dish was, and also just origins of their upbringing. And all these women happen to be Italian. So it starts with meeting Lorraine Bracco, who plays Roberta,
Mhm.
and she's a close friend of Vince Vaughn's character's mother's. And I forgot where, I think she's from Sicily. One woman's from Sicily, the other person's from, I think, Bologna, like different parts of Italy. And the older women start fighting, but you could just tell like where they are in life. They don't really have much purpose, and them being offered to cook in this restaurant gives them purpose. And it's just really the building of something really beautiful, which starts off really tough given that they can't get things done in a timely fashion. This guy has never run a business before, so he doesn't have the true business acumen. So he has to, lean on his friend Bruno and on a love interest that he develops from high school who comes into his life, which is really interesting. And they eventually are able to spread the word. And initially, people in Staten Island were like, this guy's not from Staten Island. We don't want to support this outsider from Brooklyn and his restaurant. And after being able to convince, and I think they bring it to like some sort of critic, or he brings food to like a news station in Manhattan, and he then writes about the experience going to this restaurant, or at least the food, and how it's really just a culmination of Italy, and from just the actual source and foundation of this restaurant, and how it has so much meaning. It's love, it's family, it's the combination of everyone's favorite sauce, because everyone's got a different recipe for their sauce, or certain dishes that are native to different parts of Italy that they would serve. And that's what the menu consists of. So I believe this happened in like 2007 when this was first opened, sometime early 2000s, but it's still around to this day. And from what I've read, Joe Scaravella, who is the true owner, and that's who Vince Vaughn plays, has expanded the menu to not just include grandmothers from Italy, but now has been able to include women from different cultures, backgrounds, nationalities, etc. If you're a grandma, you come and work at Enoteca Maria and provide your dishes and share them with Staten Island and anyone who comes to the restaurant. So I thought it was great.
Yeah, I was looking this up real quick while you're talking about it, and it looks like it's still really hard to get a reservation there. Like it's very successful, and that makes sense to me. Like as somebody that like I cook almost every meal in my house, and one of the things that I find is that like you can find a ton of recipes, and they're fine. Like they're good. You can find what you're trying to make, But what's really, really, really hard to find is those recipes that are genuinely like the passed down kind of true family recipes for things. Because what you find is something that gets, bastardized a little bit because it has to be able to appeal to the masses and has to be easy enough for somebody that doesn't know, the history of whatever they're making.
Right.
And when you look at Italian grandmothers specifically, right? And other grandmothers from like you're talking about women coming from a generation where they had to cook every meal, right? And they cooked for their household and their mothers passed their recipes down. Like I know because my wife's aunt is the same way. If you ask her how to make something, she's like, I don't know, I just make it. Right? Like you can't get a recipe out of these people because they don't write it down. They're not looking at it's a tablespoon of this and a teaspoon of this. They're like, yeah, I grab some of this shit and I throw it in, and then I taste it, and if it's not right, I throw in another tablespoon, whatever, just a handful of whatever.
Doing it for
And
years.
yeah, it's not a recipe. It's an understanding and an experience, and so it's really hard to duplicate that. And so this is absolute genius from the business standpoint. Like I don't know, I can see how somebody was like, this will never work, right? Because if you try to put I don't know, a 75-year-old woman behind a regular cook's line, they're gonna get their asses kicked and they're not built for that anymore. But
No.
if you put it into fine dining and you say we're only serving X amount of people a night, plus we have like three or four of these ladies back there that are doing, this in a certain way, and we're gonna do a certain number of plates a night and really kind of condense what they have to do. Um, yeah, yeah, it seems doable. And like I said, brilliant because even if you hire professional chefs of a very high caliber, they can't do what these women do. Like this is more, I would imagine, a more family style of eating rather than that fine dining where you're getting like the bear. You're not getting a little slice of steak with a little fucking leaf on it. And not saying that stuff's not delicious, right? Like I'm not saying that the fine dining experience isn't incredible and you're not eating flavors that are whatever. This is a very authentic thing, and I think it's would be pretty hard to get out there in the real world unless you go to a dive, unless you go to a divey little Italian place. Um,
And
so
the
yeah,
way that they structure this restaurant, just I'm on the website now. They're only open Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, and they have specific seating times. So they have a
yep.
12:30. Yeah, so it makes sense. They space it out so that these women aren't,
Worked to an early
work to
release.
the bone, right? They're given their time to put together their main dishes. And I mean, heck, if the last one is 7:30, they can be out of there by like 9 and in bed by 10:30 or whatever it may be. But I thought it was well done. The cast is great. You've got, let me go back. Vince Vaughn, um, Joe Magnell, and then you've got Talia Shire, who plays one of the grandmothers, and she's like a former nun who then was like, I want to do something more than just be a nun the rest of my life. So that was pretty cool. And yeah, knowing that she's from Rocky and she's aged very well, in my opinion. And then you've
And
got
The Godfather.
what?
She was also in the Godfather movies,
Oh,
Talia
also in The
Shire.
Godfather. Lorraine Bracco, and then Susan Sarandon, who's this like very like fun, plays a fun hairdresser who knows how to make sweets, and they have her as the baker who does all the desserts. And then Brenda Vaccaro, my dad knew who she was, and he was like, "Yeah, great staff, cast and stuff." So, yeah, it was really nice. Just how this guy was like, "I really want to use this money to give back," and just going out of his element because this guy, I believe, worked for the MTA, or at least they showed him like working for the MTA prior to this, before he opened the restaurant. So definitely not in his wheelhouse. And he came up with an idea, genius idea, truly, and was able to eventually, after facing his various challenges from the Staten Island community and such, they almost closed within a few months. But yeah, luckily he persisted and it's been open for well over a decade now, which is great. And I'm glad they made a movie about it. I'm sure this will help increase their reservations for the next couple months. I want to try it.
Yeah, my guess is they don't struggle at this point.
Yeah.
And looking at their menu real quick, I mean, they've got two types of lasagna, which is something you make ahead. You can make it in the morning, and then you can cook it in batches, right? So they're not necessarily killing
Mhm.
themselves at the dinner rush, right? Like they're not having to make this plate right now. They can take all day, and true Italian cooking, especially when you talk about sauces and stuff, that's not out of the out of the jar and your sauce is ready to go. Like Italian women will make spaghetti sauce all day. Like it will be in the pot for an entire day to get it right. So they've got a lot of time to work this stuff out and work through it. So I think it's pretty cool. Like it's really neat. Like I would actually love to go there. And they're a cash only establishment. So like they don't mess
Right.
around, man. They're like you can get in if you want to try, but good luck and bring your money.
It's very niche, and I think, I mean, it looks like it's a revolving menu. If I'm
Yeah.
looking, it's like today's menu, and they've really broadened their horizons by now offering food from various different women outside of, the Italian
Hmm.
eating culture, which is great too.
Yeah, and I think they're in the right place to be serving Italian food. Oh, lost Andrew. Um, but the that area of the country is very Italian. Like I'm in Connecticut and we're very Polish out here. Like there is a crap ton of Polish food in Connecticut. And I think New York, you tend to see a lot of Italian and probably Polish and just Eastern European food in general, but Italian food is still really common in New York. So it definitely, I think people will be happy to go here as long as they can. It may not be well. I think this movie will probably push them to have people coming from out of the area, but I think before this, it was probably doing just fine based on uh, the local buzz and the people around there because that's the type of food that they eat. Um, and just looking at this menu right now, this says this is from August. Yeah, this posted on August 2nd. And this says tonight your featured Nona is Jolanta from Wrocław, Poland. Like they literally have a featured Nona for each night that you go. So you actually really can't plan on what you're going to eat before you go there. You eat what you get, and then you deal with it. So
It's
definitely,
brilliant. The whole concept, I think well, right? Because it was his idea. I think it's great.
yeah, it's very cool. So yeah, I do not have the time or the money to go to a place like that yet. But if I did, I would actually be very excited to go there and check it out. I think it'd be a lot of fun. And I think yeah, it sounds like a great place. So and a fun movie. Like I love Vince Vaughn. I think he's a great actor. He doesn't get quite as much recognition for his ability to act because he's done so much like over the top comedy in his career.
Yeah.
But he's a good actor. He's a good actor too. And then you got Susan Sarandon, and then you've got all the old school Italians in here: Lorraine Bracco, Drea de Matteo. Like you're kind of if you're like if you were in The Sopranos, give us a call. We need you for this movie. Like so, yeah. So all right, cool. Yeah, I actually might check that one out. I not to go too far off topic, but I did watch the movie you watched last week just for the hell of it. The Life List. Uh,
Yeah. What did you think?
it was cute. It was cute. It was like you said, it's hard to call it a rom-com, even though it does have like the romance. It's
Yeah.
not much of a comedy, but it was a decent like little feel-good movie and kind of a neat story of just a mom trying to get her daughter on track in a way that she didn't think she could in life and having the opportunity to kind of force her to do something in her
Totally.
memory. Yeah.
And
Um,
I also watched the movie that you watched last week, Locked, that you reviewed, which
yeah.
I really liked.
Yeah. Again, I thought some of the movie was a little basic and it was a little too long. in parts, which is weird because it actually, like, if you look at the time, it wasn't that long. But
No, it's pretty
the
short.
the acting was incredible. I think anytime, I mean, Anthony Hopkins really doesn't miss, and
Yeah,
I think Bill Skarsgård is actually a lot better than maybe his career shows yet. Like, I think
right.
he could do really well in the next little bit. But
Andrew, this
yeah,
movie was basically Anthony Hopkins being like a jigsaw type of person and holding Bill Skarsgård's character hostage in a car with the intent of him pretty much like showing like if he's learned his lesson after making some mistakes. But I thought it was well done. I mean, it's not, I think, as well crafted as a Saw movie, but in
yeah,
terms of like an older man who's like trying to teach a lesson to someone who has made some serious mistakes.
yeah,
So yeah, and Anthony Hopkins was fantastic.
yeah,
And actually seeing him at the end too in person,
yeah, yeah. To see, yeah, he actually,
the
because
first
for
most of the
most of the
movie is
movie
his
he's the
voice.
voiceover. Yeah, he's
Got
just
it.
talking to him through the car. Which Anthony Hopkins has a fantastic voice,
Yeah.
especially for somebody that wants to kill you. You're
Yeah,
like, oh, cool, it's Anthony Hopkins. I'll just die.
right.
Um, no fava bean jokes, so that was nice. But yeah. So okay, we can move on from Nona's, which I may check out. It does sound pretty great. But Andrew, you watched Freaky Tales?
I watched Freaky Tales, and this was a film that seemed to have a little bit of an indie Sundance thing going on. Seemed very interesting in that it starred Pedro Pascal, who's everywhere, but then also has Ben Mendelsohn, who I'm a big
Oh, I
fan
love Ben
of.
Mendelsohn. Yeah,
Yeah, he's like also he's the second billing. Then you've also got some people like Jay Ellis. I don't know who he is, but he was in Top Gun Maverick. Then you've got Normani, who I guess was part of this group called Fifth Harmony, might be a Gen Z thing. But then Dominique Thorne, I didn't recognize the name at first, but apparently she's
she's
the one who played
Ironheart.
Ironheart.
Yeah.
Correct. So she's in it. So Normani and Dominique are like this like girl rap group. And then finally Jack Champion, who also might be more of a Gen Z thing, but apparently he
Everybody
plays
does. Yeah.
Spider in the Avatar films. But also was the boy on the bike in Endgame. I think he was the kid who Ant-Man goes like, "What happened here?" And he just like
The
stares at him
kid's
and then
like,
like
"Meh."
yeah, and it goes off. So this is again indie-ish. It's actually directed by Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck. They're the duo. I think they're husband and wife, or maybe they're just like friends. But either way, they're the duo who did Captain Marvel. So that's that. And what it's about, Freaky Tales, is it takes place in like 1988 in Oakland. So it's kind of like historical fiction. And it takes a bit of a Pulp Fiction-esque type approach because it's like four different little vignettes or stories, but they're all interconnected. So you see like Pedro's character like kind of walk do a cameo during the first episode, which is about these punks. Like I guess Berkeley and Oakland, I think like Rancid or something like that. I don't know. I just know Berkeley and Oakland are popular for punk, or maybe it's L some I don't know. It's some punk band. I'm not a punk person, but either way, there's it's a punk scene, and apparently like these skinheads show up and they actually beat up the punks, you know? So there's a lot of skinhead punk rumbles happening in Oakland in 88. Another thing that's really highly celebrated in this film is Too Short, apparently. The rapper Too
Hmm.
Short is from Oakland.
Yeah.
People love their Too Short. And especially, I would say, like your ironic hipster types, which is basically what this film, I think, is catering to. But Too Short actually plays a cop in the film, and he's basically Ben Mendelsohn's partner. Ben Mendelsohn is basically a corrupt cop. And he is such a good, again, Ben Mendelsohn is great because when he plays a villain,
Dude,
yo, like
he's
he is like
so
the
bad.
best villain.
Yeah.
And he is a villain in this film. And I don't want to like spoil too much, but let me just tell you, like when you find out like how villainous he actually is as it unfolds, you're just kind of like, well, damn, okay. Pedro, he basically plays like a hitman, like he's or an enforcer, I should say, not a hitman, an enforcer. And after seeing what he does in The Last of Us, you can definitely Pedro's got that in him. And I will say at one point, like he goes up to this guy and this guy owes money and he's like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And Peter's like, all right, which hand? He's like, pick a finger. Like he's just like, pick a finger. He's like, I don't know, pick a thing, whatever. But anyway, it happens. And of all people, but it makes sense. Tom Hanks makes a cameo, and Tom Hanks is a proud Bay Area. He went to Skyline
Yeah.
High School in Oakland.
He went to Chabot
So it's kind of
College.
yeah. So it's like so Tom Hanks plays this like video store like employee who's like really just kind of into his like uh recommendations, and he's recommending the movies to Tom to Pedro Pascal's character. But anyway, going back, so the first vignette is about the punks and the not neo-Nazis. The second vignette is about these two rappers, female rappers, and Too Short was famous for like songs that always use the word biatch, and it was very like, kind of sexist to be honest with you.
Oh yeah.
But basically, these rappers go and go to where Too Short's performing, and he's performing his songs, and then they go and perform their rap, kind of like dissing Too Short. And I guess it's not a spoiler to say that basically they do so well that Too Short's like, "Yep, you can come in and be with my crew." So these girls go from just being regular around the way girls to actually now performing with Too Short. So, and it's kind of loosely based on a true story. The third one is basically Pedro Pascal's backstory in terms of he has a wife and something happens with the wife who's pregnant at the time. But when he finds out why this happened and it has to do with his past, then of course there's a bit of an understanding that happens. And then the final vignette is an Oakland Warrior, as in the Oakland Warriors, the basketball players. And apparently there was this player named Sleepy Floyd, and I think this is a true story, where it was a playoff game or a championship game, and while the Warriors didn't win, he scored like the most points in a game or a quarter or something, and Oakland people celebrate this. But then after the game, and this is where it gets fictional, he does some crazy stuff when some neo-Nazis go to rob his house and some bad things happen, and then he decides to kind of take revenge. So it's those four vignettes. Again, lots of old school kind of vibes, kind of like how Captain Marvel was kind of like a love letter to the 90s, even though they played Just a Girl, which came out in 97, in a movie that takes place in 1994. So that took me out. I was just like, you know what, y'all are fucking amateurs. But anyway, this film is better than Captain Marvel for sure. Is it an amazing film? No. However, is it a nice little rental? I'm dating myself, but whatever. It's a nice little rental that you can just kind of like watch and go, you know what? That wasn't too bad. That was good with some pizza or whatever, even though I wouldn't eat too many carbs. Anyway, yes, I think it was a good movie, and especially the end. I think the fourth story, like pretty much everybody else kind of ties into that fourth story, including Pedro. And that's where it feels a bit like, what's the word? Pulp Fiction-ish, because
Mm-hmm.
Pulp Fiction gets crazy, and this film gets crazy. Definitely rated R, not for the kids. No, there's no like boobies or anything like that, but there's definitely violence, and that is great. And again, I feel like I just get the impression that Pedro, I'm not Pedro, Ben Mendelsohn must be a cool guy because
Dude's gotta
to
be.
play the character that he plays in this film, like he is so irredeemable. Like, he just had fun with it. Like he's like, I want to be the most nasty, like asshole motherfucker I can be. And he does, he
Yeah,
delivers.
you know who
So
he reminds me of, like just in the characters that he plays, is the guy that played Ben on Lost. The guy that played Ben
yes,
Linus. Like they're
yes,
just so good at like channeling this like just nastiness, but like they're also like the nicest people in real life. Like you just see them and like on screen they're just like dude. I don't know why I'm totally blanking on his name, but the guy that played Ben,
I'm
you
looking it up.
he was in Evil, and he basically plays like an agent of the devil, and he is just, I mean, he
Michael
is
Emerson.
nasty. What is it? Michael Emerson.
Michael
That's right. That's
Emerson.
right. And like he's just slimy and evil, and you're just like,
Yeah.
damn, dude. Like you, but then if you watch him in like Person of Interest, where he's out there like kind of being a hero in a way, He can, he can do both, but he's just like some these guys are just so good at being bad that it's like Anthony Hopkins. Anthony Hopkins, I mean, Silence of the Lambs, terrifying. You put him in Locked, and he is, I mean, he's just a bad guy. He's just mean, but he's so good at it. Like you just believe this guy could probably kill you in a car, and just ruin your life. They're just so good at it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. The last thing I'll say about this movie is if you, because I am one of these people, if you enjoy like righteous revenge and get cathartic feelings, like you're just like, oh yes, yes, please, yes, kill them. Like if you enjoy that, this is the movie for you.
Well, this makes me think too, because so Pedro is in this. Pedro's in Fantastic Four, and apparently every fucking thing ever. Um, Having seen Pedro and obviously so many things, like what is your favorite Pedro Pascal
That's
performance?
a really good question. And honestly, I think I might have to say Joel. I think I might have to say Joel just because, like, again, I love the range, and especially when he's vulnerable. Like when he was vulnerable when he lied to her at the end of season one, and then he does that exact same voice when he lies to her again. Like, and that's when she just was like, yeah, no, So I would say. Yeah, I as Joel, as Joel.
Yeah, mine
What
is
about
The
you?
Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet. Okay, all right.
He is so, like because I've seen him in so many things. He's so dramatic, almost always, right? Like he's almost always a dramatic character. He's got humor in him or whatever. He is so different in The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent that it's fantastic. And that one is like it's not like Freaky Tales, but it is in the fact that you take somebody that's like Nick Cage, who's playing Nicolas Cage, but a fictionalized version of himself. Um, and so the story just goes off the rails in such a ridiculous way. And I mean, I had a lot of fun with that movie, and it's because I mean, number one, Nicolas Cage, I think, is just out of his fucking mind, so he can play almost anything. Especially if it's crazy because he's just a crazy guy. But to see Pedro Pascal be almost like the buffoon, like he's almost stupid in a way, but not. And it's just such a stretch for him, I think, compared to other stuff that he's done that I enjoyed it so much. And I love him as Joel, but I also have something to compare his Joel performance to. And that's actually why his voice is the way that it is that he's not copying Troy Baker's work in the game, but he is paying homage to it and definitely, kind of lowering the timbre of his voice and getting a little more southern with it and all that. Um, but yeah, I mean, honestly, like everything I've ever seen him in, he's been great. He's in Game of Thrones. He was great.
Oh yeah, that was
Um,
my
you know,
second. That was probably my second. Cage lives in Las Vegas, actually. I hear there's lots of sightings of him. Like if you go to certain diners, you'll find him there, and he's actually
uh,
super nice.
I believe
So
that. I actually believe that he is probably a really nice guy. So, and then Lauren, you've seen a handful of Pedro things. Do you have a preferred Pedro performance to
I've
alliterate?
only seen him in two things. I've only seen him in The Materialists and Fantastic Four, so I'm actually not going to answer this
wow,
because I feel like I need to see more of him to truly give a better
that's
answer.
fair.
Yeah, that is fair. It's amazing to me that you haven't seen him in more things because I feel like he's in
Yeah,
every damn thing there
everywhere.
is.
I'm trying to
But
think what else I would have seen him in because I didn't see The
Last of
Last of
Us.
Us. I
Yeah, no,
haven't
and no
seen,
Mandalorian.
no.
yeah,
Well, okay,
Narcos.
I guess I saw him in Gladiator too, but
Oh
Oh yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I
but that was
don't
like,
don't think he had
yeah.
that big of enough of a role for me to be like, oh, I really think he should be,
no.
yeah, Pedro Pascal in that. I'm trying to think what else. I didn't see Game of
Did
Thrones.
you see Wonder Woman 2?
Oh shit.
That role is why he refuses to
Regrettably,
shave
Yep,
yes.
his mustache. He's
yep.
like, I will never ever shave my mustache again.
Yeah,
And she's
he's
probably,
like, if you want to cast me, this shit does not go.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, no, and like clearly that has left my mind.
yeah, as it should.
Purposefully, and I didn't even
Yeah.
realize that. What was the other thing I was going to say? So yeah, he was in that. I do want to see the movie Eddington. It was on my list, and he's in that playing, I guess,
That's him and Joaquin
opposite
Phoenix,
of
right?
Joaquin Phoenix. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I was gonna say that was Joaquin Phoenix, yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably wait till that comes to streaming, but I know he's in that, which is crazy because he's in like three or four movies this summer that all.
At least, yeah. Eddington is Ari Aster, isn't it?
I think it
It came
is.
out.
Is it?
It just came out like a few weeks ago. It's still in theaters.
I think it's directed by Ari Aster, which is why I'm
Oh
almost
yeah.
nervous to watch it because we were on a huge Ari Aster like he's the greatest director ever, and then we watched whatever the hell that last one was.
Bo is afraid.
Bo is
Oh
afraid of funk.
God, that was the most terrible movie, dude. And
That
it's
one
actually
was
Eddington is not, it's 67% Rotten Tomatoes, so we already know it's not good.
Okay.
He
Yeah.
fell off. Stick to horror, homie. You're good at your horror. Everything
yeah.
else is like,
Yeah,
no.
don't get let's not get too intelligent. Just make some good horror flicks because he's done well with that.
Yeah.
Midsummer was legit.
Oh yeah. Interesting. I didn't realize he did. That's totally different ball field.
Yeah, yeah.
Midsummer and then Eddington. That's wild.
Yeah, it's maybe stretching himself too far, but I can't really say that because I haven't
Yeah.
seen Eddington. Maybe it's great, and some of the critics and reviewers are wrong. I
It's
don't know.
bombing though. I mean, it's like the budget was 25 million. But
That's
it's
got to
only
be
made
for
10
the
million.
actors. Yeah,
And yeah, right? It's only made 10 million so far.
yeah. You know that's one of those movies too that I do not think was advertised and hyped very well.
Correct. But
Well,
also look when you're bringing this out during the summer when you have all of these high action packed films, Naked Guns out. It's not the right time.
yeah,
You also have Austin Butler and Emma Stone. Like, dude,
it's got a
this is
great
pretty
cast.
packed. So,
It should have been at the end of the year, October, November,
yeah,
December, not this
Yeah,
summer, personally.
yeah.
they were hoping for Pedro to bring people in.
Well,
That would
and
be
I think too, I think they were probably actually hoping to put it opposite some of these summer blockbusters because it's so different that, people that were looking for something else to go see would want to go see that. But
Do you think that people are actually like, oh, Pedro Pascal's in this movie. I'm gonna go to the theaters now?
I don't think he's necessarily the draw, but I think putting him in a movie doesn't hurt you. Like I think it benefits you, but Eddington is such a like art house film, almost like artsy type of film because it's Ari Aster and it's A24 that um I feel like you aren't selling tickets based on the cast, you're selling tickets based on
the director.
yeah, the director and just the feel of the film and with it feeling different than some of his other stuff and coming off of Beau is Afraid, I think that does make him a harder sell. Um, and if it's doing as poorly as it sounds like it is from a critical standpoint,
Right.
then yeah, I think Ari needs to refocus before his name doesn't mean as much anymore, and it may
So
already
going
not.
back to what you guys said before, based on because it sounds like both of you have seen Pedro Pascal in at least four or five things
Hmm.
minimum.
Yeah.
Do we think like The Last of Us is a strong contender as the best performance, but more so because it's a series and it shows more of his range versus a movie?
It's a good point. I mean, he definitely gets an opportunity to do more. He,
I would say yes, and I think
yeah,
it goes right to what you said, Kevin, earlier about a huge reason why Michael Rosenbaum is like considered the best Lex amongst the cool ones, is because he literally had a whole TV series to
yeah,
like develop the character, whereas every other Lex is in a movie except for
yeah.
like, not everyone, but like, yeah, that Lex and yeah, I
Yeah,
think being in
generally
TV
speaking, yeah. I mean, even if you look at Superman and Lois, you had Lex for a season basically. And when you look at Smallville, he was in the very first episode. He was in it for 7 years. He was a major character, and he went from being, a 20 something, like a young 20 something punk kid, that's just daddy's money and trying to, just a little bit of an asshole, but not a bad guy, to see his story arc and see who he becomes and like see all that story arc and him trying to be good and and
And since you're never going to see Smallville anyway, I have goosebumps right now. I'm remembering Lionel Luthor when he shows up in
so
for
good, dude.
season one, that's his dad. He's like, that guy's a fucking asshole. But by season seven, on Lex's last appearance regularly, he literally confronts his dad and pushes him out of a high-rise window to his death.
Yep.
And then you see him looking down as his dad's falling. That's Lex embracing his full villainhood, and that
Yep.
shit is amazing.
Yeah, yeah. If you look at where he was in the beginning versus where he is at the end, it's an incredible story arc, and it's probably the best thing that Smallville did, just hands
Yeah.
down, is that story arc. I know it was about Superman, and when you look at Corin Sweat said his favorite Superman is Tom Welling. Like that's who he
Wow.
grew up
I
watching.
like him even more, man.
Yeah,
Corn
and
Sweat keeps
so
saying things that I'm sorry. Corn Sweat did that whole Star Wars thing,
that was
and
dope,
now
dude.
he says like Tom Welling's the best one. I like you, Corn Sweat. All right, I'm sorry. I just had to get it
Well,
out there.
I actually and like Cavill gets a lot of shit or doesn't get a lot of shit, but like he was like everybody's like, oh, he was the perfect Superman because he's huge and buff. I'm like, that dude's a fucking nerd, dude. Like you don't understand. Like Cavill's he plays Warhammer, he builds his own
Yes.
computers. Like he's a dork, and I think that is
He was in Into the Woods, I believe, right? Or
I
no?
think maybe um
He's a musical guy too, I believe.
yeah, he's just like people see him as Superman because he is, 6
He's
foot three and jacked out of his mind, and he's a handsome son of a bitch. Don't get me wrong, but like he's a big dork. Like he loves his nerdy things, and Corn Sweat is great. He's a nerd and loves his nerdy things. I think that goes a long way. I think being able to understand the genre you're working in goes a long way.
All right. So Eddington, apparently, I didn't know what it was about. Now I'm curious.
It's a little
So
political,
he's trying to
right?
tackle that.
correct.
Yeah,
It's about race.
yeah,
But basically someone says Eddington's the kind of movie that thinks it's doing what Get Out does, but instead of making a Pele or Peele-esque documentary, it lands with a thud in the realm of uncanny historical reenactment. So either way, it got savaged. So I'll see if it's savage because people don't get it, or it's
yeah.
because Ari Aster is clunky and clumsy and sucks. So we'll see which one it
Yeah,
is.
I feel like this movie could be a real hit to his career because I think Beau was Afraid was not a good film, but he could have bounced back from one. But if you do two in a
Yes.
row, then people are like, "Which
You become
what's the
Shyamalan.
fluke? What is the fluke? Is Midsummer the fluke,
Yes.
or is Beau is Afraid the fluke?" Like, and Eddington are those who's the real Ari Aster? So yeah. All right, cool. Well, we can move on. I'll probably be quick, but Twisted Metal behind me here dropped on Peacock this week for season two. And to prepare for season two, I started watching season one, and I happened to get really busy this week, so I've only watched the first episode of season two. But having watched the first season again, I'm reminded why I enjoyed the show. It's an over-the-top show. It's based on a video game that came out. There's tons of them, and I think the first one came out in the mid '90s. And this is one of those shows that kind of has to build more of the story than the games actually had. Like the games are just you're crazy people in like a psychotic demolition derby almost. Like you got to survive to win, and everybody's trying to kill everybody in cars. And that's the whole thing. And so you have to set that up in a way that works. And I've said it before, but this is my favorite performance from Anthony Mackie anywhere. He's got more personality than he's been allowed to have in the MCU by a long ways. He's a little doofy sometimes, but he's funny, and just really energetic, which is the thing that I think is missing from his performance in the MCU. Like he plays that character well, but the character itself is kind of just bland. And that's always hurt him. Even Steve Rogers, you got some comedy out of Steve sometimes. Like he had his moments, and
I
he
got that
doesn't get to do that.
reference.
Yeah, I get that. And so like to see Anthony Mackie just let loose and kind of be Anthony Mackie, because if you ever see him in interviews, like tomfoolery is his jam. Like he
Yeah.
loves to mess around, and uh, I definitely feel like he gets to be himself in this one. Stephanie Beatrice is great in this. She's from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And she's been in a few other things, but she's fantastic in this. But the gist of this is when the movie or when the first season opens up, he's what they call a milkman, which means he's making deliveries. And the story is set in a world where there was some sort of apocalypse. We don't really know what happened, but we know that um, basically all communication, power, everything just kind of went out across the world. It's just done. And so we're left in this kind of remnant of, what's left. And so he is a delivery man. They call him a milkman, and he makes deliveries from major cities, and that's his job. And it's dangerous out there. Like I think the opening scene of the entire show is him driving around inside an abandoned mall and being chased by some people shooting at him, right? And so it's very action packed in a lot of scenes. And he gets to where he's going, makes a delivery, and establishes himself as a milkman, and that's his job is to make deliveries. And so he makes a delivery to what they call New San Francisco, and all the major cities are basically walled cities now to protect the people inside. And much like almost any post-apocalyptic show, what we find out is that the people that have the power usually suck, right? In these shows. Like I can't say that what happened in the real world, but Stephanie Beatrice's character in particular is missing her middle finger on her right or left hand. And the reason is she was living in the OC, and her brother were picking oranges, like that was their job, and they were surviving and they were actually okay. Like it sucked to be doing menial work, but like they were fine. She finds this flyer that says, if you come do this contract with us for 3 years, we'll give you your own house down by the water and you can do this stuff, which turns out to be a total lie. You go and work for the rich white people, and they like the rich white people that basically own you now that you're under contract. You're not allowed to speak. They can beat you. They can torture you. Like people are wearing necklaces made out of their fingers of the people that like it's crazy, right? And so her character escapes from that with her brother, who ultimately gets killed. Her like opening scene is kind of tragic, but it's funny because this show does really well with some of the tragedy stuff. But I mean, it's a funny show. Like it is definitely comedically like dark because it is a violent show for sure. Like they do not skimp on the violence. Um, there's no nudity. There is one sort of over the top sex scene in a ball pit that's kind of hilarious. But like it's just a lot of fun. And so yeah, he gets to New San Francisco, and Nev Campbell plays the mayor of San Francisco. And watching it again, I'm reminded that she aged fantastically. She's a very pretty lady in her mid 40s, I think.
Maybe
And
early 50s. I gotta look
yeah,
her up now. Keep
yeah,
going.
and so she gives him a job to go. He has 10 days to drive all the way to Chicago and back and pick something up. And I guess the further east you get, the more problems there are because there was,
51.
yeah, yeah. And so there was like a nuclear power plant somewhere in the east exploded, and they never really deal with the radiation aspect of it, but it causes other issues. And so the further east you go, the crazier things are. So to get to Chicago and back in 10 days is not a simple mission, right? And so he embarks on this mission. Shenanigans ensue in between. He meets Quiet, played by Stephanie Beatrice, runs into Sweet Tooth over here, who is a giant clown with a crazy head and mask, and he's an absolute psychopath, brilliantly played by physically by an actor who I think it was a wrestler, but he's a big, huge dude. But voice acting is done by Will Arnett, and he does a great job as an absolute psychopath. Like it's such a wild character. And then Thomas Hayden Church plays the lawman that they're up against, who is just another kind of psycho. Like everybody's a little crazy in this world. And so he connects with Quiet, and they embark on this journey, and they have their conflicts along the way. This first season is 10 episodes, maybe about a half an hour an episode, give or take. So it's a pretty quick watch if you can do it, if you got the time. Um, the last episode's about 40 minutes. And then starting the first episode of this one, it picks up where the last season leaves off. And I don't want to spoil anything for the first season if nobody's watched it, but it ends in a pretty interesting spot, setting up the second season. I think they were aiming for a second season. They were pretty confident they were going to get it. And when they did, they've got to pick up from there and move forward. So this whole first episode sort of sets everything up. Is more of a setup episode. That one's about 40 minutes. I haven't looked to see what the episode length is for the second season, but I have a feeling they're going to be a little longer, and be kind of more of the same. I think it's going to be a lot of fun and energetic, and pick up there. I don't know what the overall scores were for it, but I think it did pretty well. At least on IMDb. This season brings in the dude from Barry and Superman, Anthony Carrigan, the guy that played
Yeah.
I forget
The
what they call it.
shapeshifter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, on IMDb it's a 7.3. Like the show's actually doing pretty well for what it is. And it's just it's a wild ride and a lot of fun. And I think it does kind of have to be your jam, right? Like you've got to be up for something that's a little crazy, definitely has its violence, and um, doesn't mind doing some really bizarre and weird stuff, but it is a lot of fun. And I definitely recommend it if you think it's your jam. Like watch a couple of trailers and stuff, preferably for the first season, to get yourself set up for it. And then, lead into the second season. I'm excited to finish watching it this week. This is one of those ones that I really was like, when I heard it was coming, like I was kind of counting down. Like I was excited for this one. So it's been a lot of fun so far, and I really want to see where it goes.
What's the name of that show with the woman with the big eyes who does voice acting? She played Jinx. What's the name of that post-apocalyptic show?
Oh, Fallout.
Fallout. All
Fallout.
right.
That
So
that
is this
returns.
like in the same vein as Fallout, would you say?
N- I mean, yes and no. I think this one is probably more over the top, um, for
Okay.
sure. Um, but I mean, yeah, I mean, Fallout has its moments. I think, but I feel like the characters, even though her character is kind of wide-eyed and a little silly, I think most of the characters in Fallout are a little more serious.
Okay.
This is uh, it's crazy. Like it is a dark comedy, but I think everybody does a really good job, which I think is neat. They don't have to be like they have no business being as good as they are in a show like this. Um, but yeah, it really is a lot of fun, and I think it's worth the watch. It looks like Thomas Hayden Church isn't in season two. Unfortunately, Nev Campbell doesn't come back for season two. I think that was a budget and timing thing. But they do kind of an interesting way of explaining how she's not there because the character itself is still important in season two. And they replace her with a girl from, was she in She-Hulk? The one, oh fuck, what was her character's name? The one that ends up hanging out with Wong all the time. So Wongers.
No way.
Yeah,
Her?
I love
Oh
her.
yeah,
I love
Madison.
her. Yeah, yeah.
Madison.
With,
With an E or is it
it is
or a
two eyes,
Y?
but not
It's
where you
not where
think.
you think it is.
She's awesome, but she
Yes.
she's good, and it's very very different than that character. But
Yeah.
she's one of those people where I really love to see somebody who takes that one role and is able to start building a career out of it because she is showing up in more things, and doing something with it. And she's, at least in the bits that I've seen her in so far, in the first episode, she is she's doing well in this. So fun to see her career kind of start to move too.
Cool.
But all in all, yeah, the show's a lot of fun. I like it a lot, and I'm going to be really excited to finish it up. And it seems like I'm not going to be hurting for it to be good. It seems like it's going to be good all the way through. So definitely give it a shot. So then we can close out the show with Lauren's review or discussion on a little bit of reality TV for us.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it quick for two reasons. One, it's almost 2
Not
a.m.
early,
And
yeah.
two, I know Andrew's dying to hear about this review about Project Runway.
Mhm.
So,
I almost was like, all right, that's my time, No.
but it's only been 2 episodes. Kevin, I know you said you watched earlier seasons.
Mhm.
It's a fashion competition for, you know, hopeful designers to hopefully be able to win the title as, the winner of Project Runway and then take their careers to the next level. Typically, they win like some form of like major mentorship, a few $100,000, and then some sort of cover with I don't know which they switch up the magazines, I feel like
Yeah,
every
yeah,
season, and then they get like a contract with one of the makeup companies or hair companies, Tresemme, or just I don't know, stuff that's beyond my um, area of expertise. But they get like a whole lot of stuff if they do win. Most successful winner is Christian Siriano, who is now the new mentor, who replaced Tim Gunn, which I'm very disappointed
yeah.
about.
He's
And
not replaceable.
he's the best.
Yeah,
He's absolutely the best. Unfortunate that he's not. This is season 21. Heidi has come back after she was gone for a couple of seasons, and this show has been tossed between Lifetime, or started with Bravo, then Lifetime, then went back to Bravo, and then now season 21, they brought it to Freeform, which I unfortunately don't have. So I've been watching it on Disney Plus the next day.
yeah.
So
That makes sense. Yeah,
the first challenge, group challenge, uh, and they put them into two teams, team Disney villain or Disney princess, and then you had to create an outfit based on your theme of villain or princess, but making it modern, obviously. And then they had them present it in like this awesome ballroom with their outfits. They brought back two former contestants from prior seasons, and then one of the prior season contestants who came back also has his twin on this season. So it's two of them that are trying to battle it out and win this ultimate title. And then someone from RuPaul's Drag Race is in it, Utica Queen. Real, I guess, birth name is Ethan, and he won the first challenge. So that's cool. And then the second challenge, which we still don't know who gets sent home yet because that's for episode 3, that was making athleisure into also an outfit that they can go into or go out afterwards. So, so far I don't like it. I don't like how the past two seasons or past two episodes are group challenges. I think that limits the individuality of the
yeah,
designer. And if someone's just with a shitty group, they're going to bring them down in both scenarios. I usually don't like group challenges. I think, especially so early on too, because it's just, I don't know, and back to back, because what if someone's a great designer and they're getting sent home because
yeah.
someone had a shitty idea and they're like, yeah, we got to do this, and too bad. That doesn't really showcase their true capabilities as a designer. So yeah, those are my thoughts so far. Nina Garcia is returning
I
as
love
a,
Nina.
yeah, I like Nina too. She's been there since the beginning. And then La Roche is in there.
Hmm.
So yeah, we'll see how it goes. And they've had, I think next episode there, Sofia Vergara is going to be the guest judge. So that'll be cool.
Yeah.
Something
I,
there.
I think it's an interesting show to watch because what as somebody that does not give a shit about fashion, given the opportunity, will wear jeans and t-shirt, shorts and a t-shirt every day for the rest of my life. You will not catch me at a fashion show. I look at high fashion. I'm like, those people are insane. Like, I don't know what to do. But if you watch the show, it's like watching something like Top Chef, where you see these people that are so good at what they do and are able to, because these challenges are ridiculous, right? Like they've done some really silly ones where they're like, here's this pile of crap. You've got to go pull like
They call it
X
the
amount.
unconventional challenge. So
Yeah,
Andrew,
they give them some ridiculous shit. And these
they have
people
them,
churn out
yeah,
something that's actually impressive. And you're
like
like,
go to Christades. This is the classic one. They take them to Christades and they're like, you have 10 minutes to grab, and you're given $100 and you have to grab anything in there that you think you can make into an outfit.
Yeah.
And then they'll have to craft an outfit and they have like one day to make an outfit and then they send it down the runway. And obviously the way that they do it is everyone goes down the runway and they usually start with anywhere from like 12 to maybe like 20 contestants. And then they have three on the top, three at the bottom, and they
Yeah.
score them and then they critique them. And then one person wins the challenge, which usually for the first half of the season will mean that you get immunity in the next challenge. And then one person goes home.
Yeah.
And usually three or four people at the end show at Fashion Week. And at that point, everyone gets to see your outfit or
Yeah.
your line. At that point, it's a collection, a line. So again,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
very similar to you, Kevin. I don't give a shit about fashion. I just think that it's fascinating.
Yeah.
I like the challenges. I think they're really cool. And I think the show in general is very innovative and has led to a lot of great success. I mean, Christian Siriano
Yeah. He
is a
was
big name now on
early.
the red
Yeah.
carpet.
Yeah, yeah, he is a big deal, and I think, but it's just such it's a display of a talent that you just most people don't have, and so when you watch them go out there and you see them be able to take again just something, just be able to go start from nothing with an idea and have an impossibly short amount of time to be able to pump something out that looks professional for their field is insane. Like going back to Top Chef, one of my favorite challenges in Top Chef, they took all these chefs that are, really good, and they literally went to a vending machine. And you had like $10 at vending machines or $5 at vending machines, and they were able to put something out that like could be on a real menu. You're like, what the fuck am I doing? You're like, I made chicken tonight. Congratulations, go me, right? Like these guys don't have a recipe, they don't have anything to work off of, and they're able to do something insane. And it's just like same with Project Runway. Like, sure, you know the basics of a dress or pants or shirts, but to be able to make something out of garbage or leftovers or something like it's wild. Like it is really neat to watch.
Yeah, and
So,
they really transform some fabrics and outfits into like really outrageous things where you're like, wow, this is something special. And when you see things like the Met Gala, and this
mm,
is where a lot of these designers will, get their starts. Well, maybe not from the show itself, but they ideally want to be the designers that the celebrities are wearing and are saying, who are you
mhm.
wearing? Christian Siriano, whoever
Yeah,
maybe in the past we've had, or we as if I've been on the show. There have been, we've had Christian Siriano. They've had Michael Kors was, I think, one of the
yeah,
first judges.
he's yeah,
Had Zach Posen and some other big names. Again, out of my field, I just know based on watching the show. Overall, it's entertaining to watch and see what like usually the avant-garde challenges are sick. What these people, I mean, avant-garde is basically like unwearable stuff, but it's a show.
it's art.
It's
Yeah, it's
it's art. They had two seasons and I wish they continued it. They had Project Runway Junior where teenagers like 13 to 17 were making these insane outfits.
yeah,
It's so I find it fascinating as someone who's not well can't even like sew anything.
yeah. I would
I'm
not sew shit
bad at
ever. That would be a
yeah,
horrible.
I just don't know.
I'd end
It's
up
like someone's
bleeding
like, "Can
everywhere.
you sew butter?" I'm like, "No, I'm fucked. I'm gonna go to Taylor or like someone else."
Yeah, I'm gonna go to
Ask
Old
my
Navy. That's
mom.
what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go
I
to Old
don't know.
Navy and pick myself up a t-shirt and some jeans. I don't. I
Right.
just
I'm like, screw this. I'm done. I'm buying a new shirt on Amazon or
yeah,
wherever. Let it ship to me or like ask someone else to sew. I can't do this.
yeah,
But yeah, it's awesome. It's really well done. So they have like really even just the collections too. Some of them have very unique themes. Some designers like will hand paint their pieces. I can't even describe just the work that goes into them. But yeah, very cool show. I'm still gonna watch it because it's Project Runway and I haven't watched Project Runway and now it's only maybe like every other year it comes out. I feel like
yeah,
since
yeah,
COVID, it's just hasn't been as common. They were doing Tim Gunn and Heidi. I think they only did for 3 seasons, but they did a show which was basically Project Runway,
yeah, yeah. I remember this.
taking the cut, and it was on Amazon Prime. And I thought this was really cool. The winning look, you had to make two looks for each episode or each challenge. They call it the accessible look. would be then sold at the end of the episode on Amazon.
Okay.
The episode like aired, the accessible look would then be able to be bought by the general public and anyone really. I thought that was really cool. But they axed that, and yeah, now Project Runway is a thing again, and we'll see what happens. But I hate the team challenges. I think they really suck. And of course, you have like all these drama queens being that's like in fashion, right? You have
Yeah, it is feels like a more diva-y show than
it's
like a
such a
Top
DV
Chef.
show. But that's not even so like for me, I'll listen to the challenge, I'll zip through the drama and like the oh my God, I stitched my hand to my to my face or like whatever. Like someone always goes to the hospital, Andrew, for like getting the sewing machine to go into their arm, their hand, hot glue gunning their, I don't know, their ankle, like just fucking like crazy stuff. Like that I don't care about. I'm just go, oh my God, my white dress has blood, my blood stains. What am I gonna do? New outfit, like whatever. So I don't care about this stuff. So I literally hear the challenge and then I'll forward my way through the actual runway and then
Hmm.
listen to the critiques and stuff. And most of the time I'm pretty good at like picking out like who I think is going to be a top contender. Um, yeah, but it's cool. I think it's really cool. They've done some really awesome challenges, stuff for like the Olympics. They've done stuff for prom. They've done stuff for brides. Like I feel like they've covered so much over the this is season 21, so they've done this like
Yeah, they've done everything.
20 years or something like that. They've literally done everything. I remember one time they had to do this was pretty cool. They gave them this special fabric where when it gets wet, it glows in the dark or something like that, something wild. So they had the models walk on the runway, and as soon as it goes into the water, like almost like it's not like a sprinkler system, but basically they walk on the runway and they have it like storming down, and then all the models will start walking through water, and then their outfit lights up a certain way. It was very cool. Like they incorporate technology into it, and then they also
Hmm.
have this challenge um, where they have to make their own textiles. So they use iPads essentially to create designs, and then it's like if I were to make a design of just like polka dots, and then it's like, here you go. And then the next day, fabric printers, I guess, just like send them and they have like almost like gift wrap. Here's your roll of this same print that you just drew yesterday.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that's Project Runway. Those are my thoughts. So far, I'm not pleased. I missed him and no more group challenges. This is a joke. Like, let people shine on their own, do their own thing. And that's also like the other thing too. Like the more people, it's sort of, I mean, even with school or work projects, the more cooks in the kitchen, the more chaotic things are going to be. And it doesn't really showcase like your true work. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So hopefully they do more or they start moving forward, getting rid of the group challenges. And those are my thoughts about this season.
All right. Well, cool. I don't have anything else. No, Andrew doesn't have anything else. So what we will do is we will come back next week and talk about whatever there is. I feel like there's some stuff coming up. Like I said, I'm hopefully going to try and see Weapons before we record because I think that one, there's a lot of buzz about it right now and it looks intense. So gonna check that out hopefully. And then we'll see what else there is. I feel like there's new stuff out this week that dropped within like the last few days because it's the beginning of the month. So there is something out there. But with that, I will say thank you to everybody for watching. Thank you for listening. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.